I want to talk to you about this time next year. This time next year. When you look back from next year, what would you say about March 2026? And since we're in 2026, what do you have to say about March 2025? Because I know that you will either look back at March 2026 and say, I'm so glad I took action. Or you will look back and you will be having the same conversation you've had with yourself for several years, which is, I should, I shouldn't, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. And so that's the question that I want to unpack with you today. This time next year, complete the sentence. What is that going to look like for you? And what would it look like if you did the thing that you've been telling yourself year in, year out that you were going to do? That you took the bold action that has been calling your name, that you have been sensing in your heart, that has just been burning in your heart. And maybe for some of you, this time last year, you did kind of sort of take some action, but you haven't been consistent with your action. You haven't picked up your pace. But so the question remains, this time next year, what? What would it look like for you this time next year? We've all gone through the seasons where we know what we needed to do and we just didn't do it. We just didn't do it. We thought that we needed to launch a business. We thought that it was time to get some kind of support, some kind of resourcing. We knew it was time to pivot out of a sector or an industry, apply for a new job, reset our health, you name it. We've all had those seasons where the stare is growing louder and louder in our hearts. We sense the pull getting stronger and stronger, and we don't do anything about it. We've all had those seasons. You can have a stirring, you can have a sensing, and don't pick up that thread. And so nothing happens. It's like the thread, it doesn't unravel because you don't pick it and you don't pull it. And then a year goes by, another season goes by, and it comes up again. So I think we can relate to it. It's part of our human existence. The calling that we've been sensing since 2020 or 2020 or 2019 or 2018, still kind of circling it. And here we are in 2026, and you haven't really done anything about it. You haven't taken any steps about it. Maybe you've talked about it, but you all know, as well as I do, especially on this channel, that talk does not boil rice, right? Or you took a few steps, you fleshed out the idea, you came up with maybe a roadmap, but you still haven't done anything substantive with it. I'm just saying, hopefully you can relate to me about this idea of not doing what you need to do, and as a result, losing time. What I'm going to talk about today is the cost of you waiting some more. It's the cost of you waiting again in 2026. It's the cost of your inaction if you don't move in this season. And I think it's not just time that it's costing you. Absolutely costing you time. Absolutely costing you time. But I think it's costing you more than time. And I want you to walk away from listening to this video saying that price is a price that's too high for you to pay any longer. It's a subscription you have to unsubscribe from because it's costing you too much money and you are wasting those resources. Okay, so come along with me a little bit and let's talk about what your inaction is costing you, especially if you have an answer to this time next year. So especially if you have a sense of the direction in which you're headed, I want to speak to you about what not moving is costing you. And before I talk about the cost, here is the broad definition of what I mean. This is a broad definition. I want to be clear that I'm not just talking about launching a business or or a ministry project or some form of service. Taking action for you can look like applying for that job that you've been watching for months, making that shift, making that pivot in your career, because it's been 3, 4, 5 years where you have complained every week, every month about feeling stuck in a dead end type of position. Taking action might look like actually pivoting your career. For somebody else, taking action might look like moving out of an industry, moving out of a sector. For some of you, it might be, this is the end point of my season of widowhood. It's been 10 years since my spouse passed away. And I've lived through a barren winter. And now finally I sense a stirring. I think this is the spring. Hear the birds chirping and singing. And yes, finally I am ready and I'm willing. And this is going to be that season where I put on some color and I allow God to beautify my life. That might be the taking action for you. So I just want to say that it's a broad definition based on your life, based on your season, based on you. For some of you, it might look like building that thought leadership, because it just so happens God has given you a voice and He's put weight on your words. So it might look like you finally creating that platform and sharing those ideas and being a voice for advocacy, for that passion project, or for that group of people that you're called to speak on behalf of. Some of you might have already started that side business. And so taking action for you might be refining that side gig. So actually making time to create the structure that you need, to create the networks that you need with intention. That might be taking action for you. So I hope now we're on the same page in terms of what I am talking about when I am talking about taking action. Let's talk about the cost that I felt led to share with you all. If you have an answer to this time next year, you have a sense of the picture that comes up in your heart. The question is, what does another year of inaction cost you? What does another year of circling your plan? What does that cost you? Number one, and I think this is such a dangerous thing, I think the resentment in your heart is going to keep building. Now, look, resentment is not something to play with. It's corrosive. That that stuff will eat you up. But when I say resentment, it's subtle. So you can say I don't resent anybody, but this is how it shows up. This is how it's going to show up. It's going to show up in you being offended. You're going to be offended against the system that has not promoted you. You're going to be resentful of your mentors or the people that you have placed an obligation on to see your work, to see your potential, to see your value, and to call it out of you. You're going to start resenting them. Every year that you don't take action in the direction that you should be going, the resentment is going to build. And look, resentment is corrosive. Resentment is such a heavy price for you to pay. Another thing you're going to be resentful of is the circumstances that don't seem to align. You're just going to carry your resentment in your heart about the circumstances that don't keep not seeming to align. I think there's a measure of resentment that shows up, and that resentment is towards yourself. You're going to resent your own self. Okay. The longer you wait, I think the angrier you are going to get. And it's going to bubble up. It's going to start showing its face. And it's going to show its face in unexpected ways and unexpected places. So every month that you're going to be waiting for perfect conditions, waiting to feel ready, waiting to be given permission, waiting to be affirmed, waiting to be validated, is costing you. And I think resentment is an expensive, very, very high price to pay. So don't wait. And while we're on this, please check your heart for resentment and release your husband, release your wife, release your pastor, your leaders, release your parents, release your older siblings, release your mentors. Because the truth is, you know the direction you should be headed in. And so you need to take steps in that direction. Okay. And also release yourself. Release yourself. Release yourself. All right. you know better now. You're going to do better. Okay. Another thing that the time, the waiting, the time of inaction is going to cost you, what you're called to do is going to wither. The thing you're called to do withers. The gift, the idea, the direction that you see somewhat clearly, it's meant to be used. It's meant to be deployed. The more you refuse to engage with it, right? The harder it's going to be to pick up. It's going to get heavier. It's going to get heavier. It's going to get heavier. And I think ultimately you might even get to the place where you don't even believe it anymore. Like that 10 years ago, you were so sure you were going to move in a particular direction because that direction was pulling you, and you could see, you could perceive my gift sets would empower this direction. And that's what I want to say. The more you wait, the more it's going to get dim and dimmer and dimmer. And so it's going to be the voice is going to be much more faint, harder to pick up. So the calling, the assignment, the project, the thing you're supposed to do is going to wither. It's going to lose its luster. It's going to lose its vibrancy. Number 3, the gap is going to get wider. The gap is every month you're delaying, every year you're delaying. The truth about it, other people are moving, and there's absolutely nothing that you are called to do or I'm called to do that doesn't have other people called to do it. Absolutely nothing. And every month, every year that you're waiting, I think the people that should be your travel companions, the distance between your travel companions and yourself gets wider. So just imagine, just think about this. We're supposed to be walking together and or running, and you have a 5-mile head start. Look, it's going to take me being able to run those 5 miles exceedingly fast, and hoping that you might stop and or go slower. But I'm just painting the picture that some of the people that are part of your class, part of your batch, part of the company of your travel companions, if you're delaying starting, you stand the chance that you lose some of the companions that you're called to journey alongside. So that gap is going to get wider, and you don't have control about whether or not you can catch up to them. I'm not talking about age. I'm not talking about being the same, what your peers are doing. That's not what I'm talking about. What I am talking about is that because your gifts or the assignments that you're called to do, they fit into a larger picture. There is a need for you to show up on time. There is a need for others to show up on time, because it's the collective impact of us all showing up on time that is able to exponentially bless mankind and bless humanity. So get up. All right. Now is the time. And if you've been circling that plan, that goal, you've been circling that project for years and years and years, I know that there are people that you were supposed to journey with. There are people you're supposed to meet. There are people you're supposed to impact that you haven't, because you have not taken action. And that gap is going to get wider and wider if in 2026 you don't take action. Number 4, the last one, the regret you have in your heart is going to compound. And I think that's the hardest one. Regret is nobody's friend. It's not a joke. So a year from now, you look back and think, I knew in March 2026 what I needed to do. Why didn't I just start? 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 And the truth is, you wouldn't have a good answer. And especially because you are getting sparks, you are getting prompts, you are getting encouragement, you are getting ignition and fire. There's something magical, there's something special about the season. So if you don't take advantage of the wind that is there to buoy you up a year from now, what is your excuse? And then that regret is going to hit so hard because of all these things that you've been hearing, because of all these things that you've been seeing, because of all these things you've been sensing in your own heart, in your own heart. And that regret is going to compound because, truth be told, whatever you're sensing to do right now, this is not the first time you've sensed to do it. You know it. I know it because we know each other. So those are the four things that I wanted to say about what another year will cost you. It will cost you resentment. It will cost you withering. It will cost you a widening gap. It will cost you regret. And I think regret is just such a lousy feeling. We're early March, but March is also the end of the first quarter of the year. A few weeks ago, we were shouting Happy New Year. 26. This is March. Q1 is almost over. And you know what that means? Very soon we're looking at Q2. And when we look at Q2, we're already saying we're at the midpoint of the year. So June is the midpoint of the year. And it's here in a flash. It's here in a flash. And so if you haven't taken action, if you don't plan to take action, if you're not right now already taking action for 2026, you don't need a prophet to tell you that 2026 is not going to be much different from 2025, 24, 23, 22. It's not going to be much different. But it needs to be much different. It has to be much different. So I want you to just reject the pattern that you've put yourself in. Start January, this is my year. By March, you're saying, I will start soon. Before you look, Q2 is done. Half the year is over. And then the summer comes, and then you're in November. And in November, after November, not much is happening. You're already talking about next year, X, Y, and Z. In next year, I will do, next year, I will have, next year, I will be. And the cycle repeats. So here's what I'm saying to you. Here's what I'm saying to you. Think about your pattern and make a conscious decision today to break the pattern. Think about your holding pattern. You've just been kind of stuck. You're not making forward movement. You're in some kind of motion, just kind of there, but not making forward movement. And just determine this stops in 2026. Need to take action. March is for marching forward. That's what this March is for. When you stop waiting and you start moving, the clarity that you've been saying you're waiting for, it comes because clarity is going to come through action. Life requires you to have a measure of faith and to exercise that measure of faith. Take the first steps, okay? And as you take those first steps, you're going to find that the path is going to get clearer and clearer as you walk in it. But you have to take the first steps. That's how it works. I think another thing that you want to be mindful of when you stop waiting and you start moving is that you're going to build momentum. And momentum is such a drug, I tell you. It's such a sweet drug. All right. So the first series of steps are going to be the hardest, breaking that inertia. But once you engage and you start taking those steps, the steps are just going to get visible. The second step is going to get more visible. The third step, the fourth, the fifth, it's not perfect, but it's going to be deliberate. You're going to, as you're taking those deliberate steps, it's going to open up before you. So that momentum that you're waiting to feel the vibe, you're waiting to feel pumped and ready. No. You get it as you move. Okay. And this is something that I want all of you to hear with a loudspeaker. So turn it up. You're going to be on your journey of becoming who you are supposed to be. The dimensions of you that have not yet taken shape, that have not yet blossomed and bloomed, that are not yet thriving because you're not moving. We're not going to wait till we get ready. We're going to start moving. We're going to start moving, and we're going to start moving today. We're going to start moving this week. And I want to say, because I am mindful, like different people listen to this message, and everybody's going to get something different from this message. There's some of you, what you need is the spark. What you need is a fan for your fire. That's what you need. So this is a fan for your fire. Some of you have already done some work last year. And this season is really about refining it. It's really about fanning the fire so it can burn brighter. It's really about, protecting the momentum that you've developed. Now, some of you, where you are right now is you need support. You need structure. You need some system you can deepen your accountability with. You need it. You need a partner in belief that's going to believe with you that you can walk in the direction of what you see, that the thing that looks overwhelming can be broken up into bite sizes. And what I'm saying is, if you need support and structure different from what you had in 2025, if you need structure, if you need support, and you need a company of people around you to make this year different, I want to recommend the Ignition Hub to you. The Ignition Hub is an accountability and execution hub that is 12 weeks long. And here's how it works. You bring one thing you're committed to build, one thing that you're committed to refine, you're committed to build, you're committed to walk towards. Just one thing. You pick one thing. And maybe for some of you, it's the calling that you're finally stepping into. Maybe it's a side gig you're restructuring, or you're finally putting some structure around, putting some systems around. Maybe it's the pivot that you are finally executing on. Maybe it's the thought leadership that you're finally building. Whatever your one thing is, you bring it to the hub for 12 weeks. For 12 weeks, we sit on it. We execute on it. And that execution compounds. And you're not alone. You're with 19 other people who refuse to let you quit. You have weekly calls, and you're joined by people who have also said yes. There's such power in that yes. And you have weekly accountability. And what you will achieve in 12 weeks is that you would have moved, and you would have moved substantially. That this time next year, March 2027, you can look back and you will say, I'm so glad I started in March 2026. Instead of, why didn't I just start? So here's how you join. You go to ignitemyear.com. IGNITE, Myear, MYEAR. You complete an application. I will review it personally and get back to you in about 48 hours. And we start March 19th. 20 spots. In fact, 19 spots. One is taken. And the enrollment is open now. And if you ever need to reach me, send me a DM on my Instagram, DM Viola Ignites. Send me a DM. I'll be happy to answer your questions and jump on a call with you and see if this is the right fit. But go to ignitemyear.com, click on apply now, fill out the application, and I'll get back to you. Let's make 2026 a marker year for you. A marker year for you, in a year in which you have quantum leaps in the direction you need to be headed. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you.